Good afternoon. My notes are wrong. Good morning. My name is Adam Sweetland. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at City Housing Hamilton Corporation. And before we begin, I'd like to just take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered, which is the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which is an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credits First Nation. Today, the City of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we know we must continue to learn and honor the rich history of this land so we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. As the largest affordable housing provider in Hamilton, City Housing Hamilton plays a key role in Hamilton's housing landscape, recognized as a leader in the affordable housing sector for providing sustainable housing solutions designed to serve generations of tenants for years to come. So I'm especially pleased to welcome you here today to this important funding announcement. It is my absolute privilege to welcome the Member of Parliament for Stoney Creek and a friend and supporter of City Housing Hamilton, and in fact, a former chair for City Housing Hamilton, MP Chad Collins.
Thanks, Adam, and it's great to be here amongst friends and for some of you, almost family, and considering the amount of time that I worked with many of you. And thanks for the introduction, Adam. I appreciate that. It's always a pleasure for me to come back to the city in any shape or form, to be out of Ottawa and all the chaos that is there, and make investments in not just for city-related projects, but for city housing-related projects. And having served as the CHCH president for 7 years and been on the board for well over a decade, I know the struggles that the organization has in terms of securing funding, not just for operational costs, but for capital costs. And under Adam's leadership and previously under Tom Hunter's leadership with the board, City Housing has addressed, many infrastructure-related issues in terms of getting at vacant units. I know you've reduced that number. The turnaround time, I know you've made that the vacancy issues a priority. And so for many years, when I look back on my time on CHH, our housing provider and many others across the country were forced to, we were left to our own devices. When the federal government took themselves off the housing file 30 years ago and decided to download those responsibilities to the provinces then subsequently in the 90s, the time I was elected to council, the province then just downloaded those responsibilities to the municipalities. And it's created a situation where that we've been struggling as providers to catch up. And it's investments like the ones that we're going to announce today that help us kind of regain some of that traction in terms of making investments that not just help the organization, but help our tenants. And so I'm pleased to announce today, and I should say that unfortunately Lisa was supposed to be here, and she couldn't be here at the last minute for various reasons. So I'm filling in for her today. And I'm pleased to announce that the Natural Resources Canada is investing $10 million in City Housing Hamilton as part of the Greener Neighbourhoods Pilot Program. Oh, thank you. And I understand that the fund and the funding is going to help reduce energy consumption by more than 60% at 123 townhomes at 2 sites here on the mountain in Lisa's riding. And they'll go a long way to assist not just with helping our quest to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but it also helps the bottom line for city housing, right? It helps in terms of if you reduce your energy consumption and you reduce your costs, then you have those resources to reinvest somewhere else in the organization. So I'm sure that you already have a plan and a blueprint for that in terms of how that's going to happen. I know Councillor Wang has done a tremendous job on the board in terms of the finances, and you will be in particular, I'm sure, working with Adam and his senior leadership team in terms of finding a new place to invest those. And it helps organizations. I know we're making these investments in other parts of the province and across the country, but it builds on some of the other investments that we've made across the city, and we're at we're over $100 billion now across the country as part of our national housing strategy. Excuse me. I know this isn't part of the NHS, but it's complementary to the NHS. And our goal, excuse me, and objective at least for the time that I've been there, our goal and objective is to get at two things. It's to get at the long wait list that we have in municipalities across the country, including getting at some of the encampment issues that council has struggled with. And we've provided resources in those areas in terms of reaching home dollars, which Grace Mader was a national champion in that. And I should, in a public setting here, just recognize Grace's efforts. If it wasn't for Grace, I think many municipalities across the country would have seen reductions in the national housing, in the Reaching Home program. And of course, then we've recently invested in the encampment fund. I think it was just over $5 million, if memory serves me right. So all those things combined are meant to assist providers like City Housing Hamilton, reduce their operating costs, help with new units, and improve the quality of life for tenants who reside here in the over 7,000 units that you manage. So it's an honor and privilege to be back amongst friends and making this announcement on behalf of Lisa, again, who apologizes for not being here today. And we have several other announcements that we're going to make in the next week, and I hope to be back in some shape or form in the same capacity, making further investments into CHH. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Collins, for your encouraging words and your continuous advocacy for advancing housing projects here in Hamilton, and of course being a steadfast friend to City Housing Hamilton. So I'm very excited to learn that this, I believe, is the largest funding announcement under this program, the Greener Neighborhood Pilot Program, and it'll be at 2 City Housing Hamilton townhouse complexes on the mountain. And I'm proud that my team will have the opportunity to pioneer these retrofits. And I want to just thank that team, Chris Shilton, our Energy Initiative Senior Project Manager, and Bernice Lilly, Manager of Asset Renewal. So thank you for putting this together, making this possible. As we said, this will have clear environmental benefits, but it also will significantly improve comfort for tenants who all year round, especially during these increased number of extreme weather events. So this is really great news. So I have the privilege to introduce our next speaker, who is speaking on behalf of Her Worship Mayor Andrea Horvath. But I want to recognize that Ward 4 Councillor Wang is also a board member and our treasurer at City Housing Hamilton. So delivering remarks on behalf of the mayor is Councillor Wang.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you again, MP Collins, for being here. On behalf of Mayor and Council, welcome. Bonjour, say go. I'm so pleased to be here today for this major investment in Hamilton's future, and at a time when affordability and climate change are at top of mind, today's announcement is a major step forward for our city. It ensures more energy efficient and comfortable homes for Hamiltonians. It reduces greenhouse gas emissions and helps fight climate change. And it makes good financial sense, keeping housing costs down and reinvesting savings into more affordable housing. This project represents a $27 million investment in Hamilton, and thanks to the incredible collaboration between Natural Resources Canada, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, City Housing Hamilton, the Atmospheric Fund, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and CanMet Energy. I want to acknowledge the strong leadership of MP Collins and MP Hepfner. Through their advocacy, it has helped bring this investment to Hamilton. Of course, Adam Sweetland, CEO of City Housing Hamilton, whose team is at the forefront of creating more sustainable and affordable futures for Hamiltonians. I also want to recognize Julia Langer, CEO of the Atmospheric Fund, she's here today, for her organization's commitment to advancing sustainable solutions like this one. I also want to acknowledge that several of our board members are here. Carl is here from our board, and this is the largest Greener Neighborhoods pilot program project in the country, and it's happening here in Hamilton. We talk a lot about building new affordable housing, and there is no doubt that new builds are critical. But we also need to preserve and improve the homes we already have. And that's exactly what this investment is going to do. This deep energy retrofit will transform 123 City Housing Hamilton townhouses. It looks at outdating gas furnaces, and hot water tanks will be replaced with high-efficiency electric heat pumps, cutting emissions while also providing air conditioning. This is something that these homes never had. Heat recovery ventilators will improve indoor air quality while reducing energy waste. And a highly insulated, airtight building envelope will be installed, helping to keep homes warmer in the winter, cooler in the summer, and more comfortable all year round. And all of this will happen without displacing tenants, ensuring families can continue to live in their homes while work is being done. We know that the impact of projects like this go beyond just climate benefits. It's about affordability too. Reducing energy consumption means lower utility bills, and that means more money for City Housing Hamilton to put right back into growing Hamilton's affordable housing stock, which, let's be honest, in the face of a national housing crisis has never been more important. This project is not just an investment in buildings, it's an investment in people, in communities, and in the future of Hamilton. It's a perfect example of what happens when all levels of government come together with a shared purpose. When we invest in affordable housing, when we invest in climate solutions, and when we invest in Hamilton, everyone benefits. So thank you again for everyone that's made this happen. It's a good news day for Hamilton, and I can't wait to see all of these houses transformed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor and Treasurer Wang, for those remarks. And thank you to the Mayor, who wasn't able to join us today, but definitely wanted to acknowledge that she's been a constant supporter of City Housing Hamilton and an ardent advocate for housing initiatives writ large. So I also share the leadership of City Housing Hamilton with our president, who is also not available to come today, but I want to also reach out and thank Ward 3 Councillor Narinder Nan and the rest of the board of City Housing Hamilton, two of whom are here today, and you mentioned Carl and yourself, because this is a very forward-thinking and supportive board who are not afraid to roll up their sleeves, take some risks, and try new things, and I want to thank them for that, because that's what gets things done. So the Atmospheric Fund invest in low-carbon solutions that are scalable to support broad implementation. And we are very fortunate today to have its CEO, Julia Langer, with us. And I'd like to ask her to come up and say a few words before we open it up for questions.
Good morning. Just a little bit about the Atmospheric Fund because, well, we're relatively new to the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. We started in 1991, just City of Toronto, and then with an endowment from the city, and then with an endowment from the province, and then a second one from the Government of Canada expanded our mandate, Hamilton, Oshawa, York region, because we need to think and act like a region when we're dealing with a big global issue like climate change. And so as a regional agency, we provide grants, we invest in loans and other instruments, we advance policies and programs that can help scale up low carbon solutions. And so the reason we're here is that buildings, when you think about where do emissions come from, the gas that we use for space heating and water heating, the electricity that we use for everything that's run on electricity, that's responsible for 45% of the carbon emissions in our region. And so we need to focus on the big sources and then the big solutions. And that's why retrofits, when we're talking about existing buildings, we can help improve the efficiency, we can electrify, we can make housing, as you are saying, healthier, more comfortable. This is a priority for the Atmospheric Fund and so many of our partners. And the way we tend to approach this, and why we're here really, is that we have this mini organization within our organization called Retrofit Accelerator. And we provide expert services to help owners of multifamily buildings, whether it's city housing or a condo owner or an apartment owner or a REIT. We are all about the multifamily buildings, and we help do the planning, do the financing. So financing means not only just loans from banks, but grants from government, from utilities, and it's hard to package that up. And so that's the kind of support that we provide as you go through the idea first, oh, I should retrofit my building. How do you make that happen? We even help with procurement, all of the nuts and bolts things. We work with the tenants if that's what's needed. And so this wonderful retrofit at on the mountain, as you say, is a perfect example. And we're particularly excited about the fact that this is going to consider, and the way that the NRCan program was structured is a panelization, sort of overcladding. And this technology, I think, is where we're going to see a huge opportunity for scaling out. And you're going to be a great example for other municipalities, for all of Ontario, for all of Canada. And we're going to also look at Ontario-made products that maybe can have a broader market. And so it's projects like this that, you get an idea, you put it in place, and then you talk about it, and it can help others as well. So not just the people who are living in these homes. So we're here to help municipalities, the building owners, the residents, accelerate this pace and scale, and very excited to be part of this one. And so then we'll look at also working with the city on policies, on other programs, with the utilities, with the businesses that supply the goods and services towards these retrofits, and help scale those up. So if you want to learn more about the Atmospheric Fund, at taft.ca. If you know people who are interested in retrofits, bring them to us, and we can help move these along. And look forward to participating with all of you on this fantastic project.
Thank you so much, Julia. So that actually concludes our speakers list for this morning. I'm happy to open it up for any Q&As, for media Q&As, and then we will, if I can ask our speakers to maybe gather for a photo afterwards, that would be wonderful. So I'll open it up to.
If 10 million is coming from, sure. If 10 million is coming from the federal government.
So I'm going to look to my team, but I believe it's 14 million is from our CMHC existing retrofit fund, which we've been working from for a number of years. And 2 million is our own funding, City Housing's own capital funding, with the balance coming from the Atmospheric Fund? No. Okay.
So 14 million from an existing federal fund?
Correct. The CMHC National Housing, the co-investment fund, we call it.
2 million from your own funding, and the balance is from the Atmospheric Fund?
Yes, thank you.
And is there a total for a federal total maybe that for this fund?
So 24 million.
24 million? And maybe could you just sort of, I heard a couple of examples of what you're doing with the money, maybe more details?
I think, Chris, can I ask you to come and discuss the project? Because you have the more passionate understanding than I do. So Chris Shelton is our Senior Project Manager of Energy Initiatives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you heard a few bits and pieces. We are in the preliminary stages of planning and design. So the specific measures and approaches are going to be those measures and approaches that achieve the major outcomes of we're targeting a 60% reduction in energy use and a 90% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. We're expecting that probably some of the key measures that are going to be required to get us there, to hit those targets, are going to be enhancing the envelope, so more airtight, insulated envelopes, so walls, roof. We're going to be also revitalizing the assets, so taking a look at what are the other things that will renew the asset and build out their, expand their lifespan, just to take care of other issues. Probably electric heat pumps for both space heating and water heating are likely going to be part of the measures included. And we are looking at a panelized, you heard a panelized approach to doing the envelope measures, where panels are expected to be fabricated off-site to minimize the disruption on-site and the amount of time. So the weather delays, disruption on-site for the tenants should be minimized by doing this in a controlled environment where you can, the quality control and the weather can be more better addressed in the way that they're fabricating. So that's the approach, and really it's looking at this at scale. We're looking at so many units, because solutions, when you're looking at a property with a lot of townhouse units, or in this case 2 properties, there are going to be solutions when you work with designers and contractors together to find cost-effective solutions to achieve those outcomes. So part of it will be an iterative design process on exactly what happens, but those are some of the key measures. There will probably be some rooftop solar photovoltaics as well. It depends a little bit on, the site characteristics and shading and all of those kind of finer details, electrical, mechanical upgrades, and essentially those are the things that we're considering. There's no central, so tenants will install their own window air conditioning units in some cases in these townhouse units, but not all tenants have those. So there's no central air conditioning currently.
Thanks, Chris. I knew he could do a better job than I can. Any other questions today? Oh, yes, we have. Sure. So one of the townhouse complexes is located at 980 Upper Ottawa, and the other one is in Ward 8 at Cranbrook and Greendale Drives. Anything else? Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. That concludes our session. We'll just have a photo up, and hopefully everybody has a nice, wonderful, sunny day. Thanks.